Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another predictions video. And in today's video, I'm going to be predicting the Chauke versus Malajika fight. And so, if you are new around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do indeed like the video, and let's get straight into this. So, as a matchup, this is a fight in which I'm very excited to see two guys who are very underrated in their division, that being now the flyweight division. I mean, Malajika is now moving down from the super featherweight division, which I'll touch more upon in a moment. But like I say, this is a matchup in which definitely has the makings to be an excellent fight. Two guys who in recent times have kind of upset British fighters and been able to look good whilst doing so. And so now this matchup most definitely does make sense. It's a fight in which, of course, is a mammoth fight in the South African boxing scene. I mean, when you look at South African boxing, there hasn't really been too many kind of huge names, or even in general, African boxing, there has been some really, really big names, but a lot of them haven't kind of proudly represented their nation and haven't actually, fought from their nation. But nowadays, you're seeing more. I mean, Martin McCauley is a great fighter. Anthony Joshua and other fighters like that have the roots, but they're not representing that country. But like I say, it seems like African boxing is really developing and showcasing a lot more ability, which is great to see because there is so much potential in that continent. It's just not always kind of showcased and displayed as it should be. But like I mentioned, this fight I believe is a very good fight. Obviously, like I say, South African, two of them boxing for a world title is huge, and I'm very glad to see that it's going to be happening in South Africa, and it's probably going to draw in quite a big fan base because it's just not really been seen before, that many big world title fights in Africa in recent years. And so, like I mentioned, it's going to create that kind of stardom, from what I believe, from two guys from Africa. Obviously, they're not being recognised by a big sanctioning body here by the IBO, or they're not probably being recognised globally, but like I've said, it's still a very big achievement for the country. And so when they also, of course, have fighting in the UFC, of course, Dricus du Plessis having so much success from South Africa, it does seem like the combat sports scene in South Africa is doing excellent things. And so, like I said, this is a great matchup to see. Obviously, these two guys have faced off, and so there was that maybe not bit of needle because they did seem both very respectful, but Malajika seemed very fired up to be able to come and get this matchup, and he seemed very ready. And this was after the win versus Marcel Braithwaite for him, where he looked very good and performed very well. Like I say, this was him being very fired up, and Chauke was quite fresh still off the win versus Casey Kademi, and he said that he had a few things up his sleeve. Yeah, I think he said he had some things under his shoes as well, or in his socks. Not sure if he quite understood the saying, but he seemed like he was very ready to have a fight with Malajika, and so it's a fight in which maybe has taken a little bit longer to be made. Why? I'm not too sure. I'm not personally sure if Chauke has been out of an injury for a little bit or not, because he hasn't fought for a year, well, over a year. It was January 2024 when he beat Kademi. And so when they did have to face off in what I believe was April time, why could this fight not have been made earlier? I'm not too sure. Like I say, Chauke may have been injured, Malajika could have been injured. Malajika has fought since then, and so, like I mentioned, it's just interesting to see how it has taken a little while to be made, but it's great, and it's also very deserving for both fighters, of course. I mean, Chauke is bringing a big fight back to his home country, like I've been touching upon, but he's obviously coming off that very big win versus Kademi, which is, of course, in the UK on Kademi's card, where he was at the York Hall, and Kademi was having a lot of support, and everybody was rooting for him. And of course, Chauke managed to cause the big upset and dominate the fight. To be completely honest, it wasn't just a decision in which he was fortunate to get, or it was a really close fight. I feel like he dominated the fight completely, and I think he really showed a complete level of skill and a fighting kind of ability in which we haven't seen from him before. And he looked really good and he really stepped up to the plate. And, in the past he'd fought in Russia once as well against an unbeaten opponent. So he has always been willing to be able to go and take the risks. And, Malajika has taken his own risks in his career, and that fight versus Braithwaite was definitely that of one. But he welcomed Braithwaite into South Africa, whereas Chauke, like I say, had to go away and pick up his win. So he's definitely had to go through the harder route, Chauke, but he's now getting to reap the rewards by being able to bring this fight to South Africa. Even though I don't really know how much it is being broadcasted about, I don't necessarily know if that's really too important. Obviously, it would be really nice to see it be broadcasted and really pushed, but I do feel like the local fans are definitely going to get behind, both of these fighters. And so, like I mentioned, Malajika, former super flyweight, he's coming down now in weight, and he was the IBO super flyweight champion and has been for a little while now. He's coming down in weight, which is an interesting one. I suppose that's because the kind of link up and the talk of him going and fighting Chauke was on the cards, so it maybe gave him a reason to come down to try and fight for, of course, the big derby, the big South African fight. But it's just interesting to see that he is willing to move down. Obviously, we're going to have to wait and see how he can deal with the weight cut and everything like that. I mean, so many fighters struggle to make the weight in which they fight at normally, let alone going and trying to fight at the weight below, because fighters often will drain themselves to get to a certain weight in which they feel comfortable enough fighting at, and they've already drained themselves. So for them to have to go down even more from what their body is used to going down to, it definitely is going to play a factor. In Chauke, I mean, all the titles in which he's fought for, even much earlier on in his career when he was fighting for local titles, he was always fighting at flyweight. So this is most definitely the division in which he is most comfortable in. And so this fight in that way is definitely going to be looking in Chauke's favour. But of course, Malajika, like I say, has been a dominant IBO champion so far, much more so than that of Chauke, who has just won it and hasn't defended it yet. So, Malajika is going to be the favourite in that way. To kind of give that bit more of a, overall overview of the fight, Chauke is 24-2-2 with 15 KOs, and Malajika is 14-2 with 10 KOs. This fight is for the IBO World Flyweight title. Chauke's last fight was a win, like I've touched upon, via unanimous decision versus Kademi, and Malajika's last fight was a win via KO in round 11 versus Sig Gibo, and I very much apologise for my pronunciation of that last name. Chauke is 39 and Malajika is 26. Chauke's losses have come versus Cafu in 2022 and Sit Yatha in 2013, and Malajika's losses have come versus Gothole in 2022 and Ge Binyana in 2021. Like I say, apologies for pronunciation, but to talk about more about that kind of overview that I just gave, the main interesting thing that I haven't touched upon is the fact that Chauke is 39 years of age, and he's just kind of getting in this position where he's been given these opportunities. Obviously, like I say, he's had a couple big fights in his career. I mean, the Cafu one is a fight that, even though he did lose, has definitely aged well. As of course, we've then just recently gone to go watch Cafu go and become a world champion. But that was a different time. Cafu was still on the rise and was looking good. Chauke, perhaps if he'd have won that fight, maybe he would have gone into the super flyweight division and maybe he would have gone on for a world title. But still, like I say, at 39 years of age, maybe if he'd have been given more opportunities sooner, then he may be further along with his career. It is nice to see that Malajika, still being young at 26, is still has been getting these opportunities for a while now, and it's nice to see. It's meaning that he has the time to be able to live up to any potential in which he does have. Obviously, Chalk has that experience, and I think he showcases that experience when he fights. I think he's disciplined, and I think he knows the game really well, and I do think he does have a good fight IQ. He's been pro since 2008, which is, of course, a very, very long time. I mean, what, 17 years? Something like that. Oh, a long time. And so he's been pro 10 years longer than Nasser Malajika. When you talk about experience, I mean, every kind of fighter, every kind of fight, they'll often talk about, this person has more experience than this person, but it doesn't always matter because, yes, you might have another 10, 20 more fights than another person, but have you been fighting the levels in which you should be? Do you use that experience? Do you understand the fight game? Do you understand how a fight can go? A lot of the time it's no. But I feel like Chauke does have that ability to be able to, read the fight and utilize his experience really well. And so that's something in which that he can definitely showcase against Malajika and might be able to have success against Malajika as a result. And I do think that Malajika is getting kind of put on that bit more of a pedestal and is kind of more expected to win versus Chauke because of the age difference. But I do believe it's definitely going to be a bigger factor than perhaps people are thinking, and it's not just going to go into Malajika's favour because he is the much younger guy. Chauke, obviously, like I say, like I've touched upon, IBO title on the line. He is the IBO champion at the moment. He is a very good fighter, and I believe is a very skilled fighter, and I would love to see him put on that showcase and showcase his skills in this fight. Of course, Malajika, again, a former IBO world champion. What is the level of an IBO title? That is something in which I feel like nobody's ever really been able to answer, and has always interested me. I don't necessarily know how much it's interested anybody else, but it's always interested me because we've seen a few fights where an IBO belt's been on the line and the opponent, who's perhaps the champion or even the challenger, looks very poor and very, very kind of low level. But we've also at the same time, of course, seen IBO title fights in which they've shown a great level of skill and have been looking really good. I mean, I do believe the belt is becoming more relevant. I think it's definitely a way for fighters to be able to secure a world title, in which perhaps maybe never have before. I mean, Chauke maybe never have been given the opportunity to fight for a world title if it wasn't for the IBO world title. There's a few similar belts which perhaps are not classed as one of the big sanctioning bodies, but are even lesser, like perhaps the WBF belt, but this IBO belt does seem to be becoming more relevant and also kind of becoming better at the level of it. I feel like there's definitely been some good fights. I mean, when you just look upon Adam Azim as a fighter, he has just won the IBO super lightweight title. Obviously, the super lightweight division is a great division, and so the world champions in that division are great stars and they are all great fighters. Azim has now kind of been classed as a world title now, as a world champion now, even though, like I say, it's not with one that's a big sanctioning body. So it does make me question myself what level it is. I mean, it does seem like Azim's going to have a few more fights before he can get to a big sanctioning body world title fight. But at the same time, he seems like he is above European level at this point. So, like I say, for me, it's just very interesting to see and to get other people's thoughts on, I suppose, where do people think the kind of IBO belt does stand? Because for me, I always enjoy a good IBO world title fight, and I do think for the most part it does bring out the best in fighters because they're fighting for that of a world title. And like I say, certain fighters like this may have never been given the opportunity to fight for a world title. So it's definitely great in that aspect, and I do feel like there is becoming that bit more of a kind of showcasing of what the level's at, and I do feel like fighters wanting to go for the IBO belt, and I do feel like maybe fighters may be chasing the champions of the IBO belts that bit more so than they have done in the past. But like I say, there's been a few fighters again. I mean, another big name that won it, who perhaps probably never would have won a world title otherwise, Prince Patel. He's recently, like I say, won an IBO world title. I don't even know if he still has it or not, but it was kind of such a big thing, an Indian world champion. But at the same time, of course, like I say, it's not with one of the big sanctioning bodies, but it does give him that opportunity, and he can then call himself a world champion. So yeah, like I say, for me, it's just very interesting, and is just something I wanted to touch upon. And in this flyweight division, it could be an important thing. I mean, I think the flyweight division is in a very interesting position at the moment. I mean, there's some great fighters. I mean, we've seen Kenshiro Taraji coming and looking really good at the moment. We've got Ola Skuga as a champion, who's a very entertaining champion. We still got Bomba Gonzalez. Uh, Galao Yafai just beat Sonny Edwards. That was a great win and a new person to be put on that stage. But all of these guys, do you argue that they're all way, way, way above than that of a Chauke or a Malajika to not even kind of think about this fight as anything important to them? I don't know. It's just, like I say, an interesting thing. But even when, like I say, Chauke won the fight and became the world champion, you could see how much it meant to him. In the last round, he was maybe playing about a little bit, trying to get the crowd going in his favour and really celebrating. And after the fight, you saw him jumping around with his team, looking so proud. And there has been other instances where you've seen people become IBO champion and just be so emotional when they won, because it is a big thing and it is an important feat. But it's just like I say, do the other world champions even acknowledge an IBO world title champion? I'm not sure, but that was just a little tangent that I wanted to go on, and we'll now go back to speaking about each fighter individually. So we'll start off with Chauke. He has a nice tight guard, and he was able to utilize that very well in the fight versus Kademi, and pretty much didn't take too many big shots. There were a few, but not a crazy amount. For the most part, he was able to catch a lot of them. He walks you down and was continuously doing that all night versus Kademi. He works gaps very well and he also creates angles. That was nice to see. He was kind of able to spin off his front foot very well and, like I say, find the angles. And it caught Kademi off guard because I don't think he expected Chauke to be able to have the kind of level of ability to be able to do that and to work the angles that well. Maybe he was thinking he would be the guy doing that. And I mean, I thought he'd be the one doing that. I thought that Kademi would be able to beat Chauke and stop him. But obviously, like I say, he proved me wrong and got a fan that night, in my opinion, because of how good I thought he looked. He has very good in-close bodywork. Perhaps I would like to see him use it a little bit more. He can at times headhunt a bit, but for the most part, that bodywork is very good. He does punish you for staying in range, and Kademi was definitely getting tired with the tempo and struggling with the pace throughout the fight, and Chauke was continuously catching him where he was just staying in range too long. He's got a nice strong jab at Chauke. Perhaps he doesn't always find his range the best, but when he does have a little bit of space to work on, he often will throw out a nice strong jab. He is well disciplined, and I believe both of these fighters are well disciplined. He controls the tempo well. He has a very good work rate, but I also do believe again that Malajika has a very good work rate as well. He lets his hands go when he has you on the ropes. Perhaps I would like to see him throw a bit more combinations and, utilize them a bit more, because they are really good combinations when he does throw them. But when he does and he gets you on the ropes, they're going to be hurting. The left hook of his is very nice. I mean, continuously throughout the whole kind of fight versus Kademi, he was having a lot of success with that left hook. He was going to the body with it, pairing it up and doubling it up and going to the head with it, and throughout most of the fights, dictating the fight with that left hook of his. And he, like I say, shows his experience, in my opinion, very well. Negatives about him, I think his defensive movements can be sometimes a bit poor. I think in that last fight it was a bit better, but still not anything too crazy. He was often, still standing quite upright and, getting caught with shots as a result of that. And he was getting caught with the overhand quite regularly, or, as most regularly as what Kademi was actually throwing it. I don't think deals with head movement that well. I think a lot of his work is quite accurate, and in close I think he's very accurate, but just when Kademi did get his kind of head movement going, which wasn't as much as what of course I would have liked to see, because Kademi's head movement can be very good, he wasn't dealing with it that well. He throws from quite low, he sits on the back foot a little bit at times, he can cover up if he's just getting thrown shots against him and combinations are coming back towards him. He can just cover up a bit and, like I say, just stay on the back foot. He stands, like I say, quite tall. He's a bit more of a slower starter, definitely that much more, in my opinion, of a slower starter versus than what Malajika will be, in my opinion. So that could be interesting to see how that plays out. He doesn't always, like I say, find his range that well, and his balance can also sometimes be off as well. When he does get caught with a big shot, it looks like maybe it damages him a bit more than what it actually does, because it seems like he is a bit wobbly with his balance at times. Malajika, as a fighter, has, of course, very fast hands. He was able to utilise that very well versus Braithwaite. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find any footage of his last fight, but against Braithwaite, he was continuously utilising his fast hands, his long swatting type of jab, which definitely isn't as strong as that of Chauke's, but it's definitely going to be frustrating. He changes levels very well with it. He's very explosive with a lot of his work, and that's a good combination to have. He can fight on the back foot, on the front foot. I feel like Chauke, like I said, controls the centre well and is more willing to be on the front foot. So Malajika against Braithwaite pretty much instantly accepted the back foot. So perhaps it might be a similar type of dynamic for this fight. He uses his range very well, and is always able to waft out that punch and swat out that punch and really extend fully into his shots. He beats you to the punch a lot of the time. That's, of course, kind of going down to his speed. Like I say, he changes levels with his punches, not with the amount of venom perhaps as what Chauke throws him with, but it is, going up and down and going to the centre a bit more with his body shots. He is a bit of a better mid-range type fighter, so it's definitely going to be a very important factor to see who and how they're able to fight in the way of range, because Malajika is probably going to want to be on the mid range, but Chauke is probably going to want to be in close. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. He's got very good fundamentals, I believe, and he is consistent in his work. He punishes you for waiting too long. Like I say, utilizing his speed. He's continuously working. He often kind of brings back his punches very well, and like I say, has them good, sharp, solid fundamentals, and he is a sharp fighter in general. Negatives about him, I think he does lunge in a bit at times. I don't think that he's falling for traps when he's lunging in, because Braithwaite was quite often loading up on shots quite a lot, and he wasn't really able to catch Malajika with them, but he does still lunge in and overextend a bit at times. He doesn't always kind of find gaps as well as what Chauke does, and I don't think he creates the angles quite as well. I think he does definitely come forwards and goes back and forth in straight lines. He ducks his head when he does get in close, and if he's going to be doing that versus Chauke, then he's definitely going to get punished, because you can't even see what's going on when you duck your head. So if he's doing that consistently in close and Chauke can get in close, then Chauke is going to have success. I don't think he's that physical. I think he can be moved with shots as a result. I think, to be honest, he is quite a weak opponent in that aspect. His shot variation isn't anything too crazy. From what I saw in the Braithwaite fight, he was having a lot of success with the straight shots and then coming in with the uppercuts quite a lot as well. But it's an uppercut in which you can see from quite far away. And other than that, he's not really going too much with any other kind of variation of shots. He can be arm punching a little bit at times, like I say, not fully committing into his shots or going for any kind of crazy hooks or anything like that. He doesn't have the best of timing with any counters that he might throw, so Chauke might be able to have success to quite easily getting close. He can be predictable at times, and like I say, he also can be quite open and perhaps uncomfortable when he is in close. Malajika is the favourite for this fight, and I think that Chauke is going to be able to win via unanimous decision. Like I say, if this was another 39-year-old versus another 26-year-old, then this definitely could be another story and a whole different kind of thing that I'm talking about here. But I do believe that Chauke, like I say, showcases his experience very well and is able to utilise that. And I think he's going to be coming forwards, going to be putting on pressure, but not messy pressure, not wild pressure. I think it's going to be pressure that is going to be sustained throughout the fight, and I think it's going to be smart pressure. I think he has an underrated fight IQ. And then I think he is, like I say, going to be able to get past Malajika's jab, because it's not anything too powerful. And then if he's just going back and forth in straight lines, and Chauke might be able to have success cutting off the ring. because he might not be trying to get out and circling out too much. And like I say, I feel like he may be arm punching a little bit, may struggle to time Chauke coming in at times. Obviously, he's going to probably have the speed advantage over him. And if Chauke allows it to go and stay into the middle, if he allows it to stay in the centre of the ring, and he doesn't, and he just kind of covers up and sits on the back foot, then Malajika is going to have success throughout the fight. But I don't believe he's going to do that because he is going to be coming in with confidence, of course, off the Kademi win, even though that was still, a bit of a while ago now. He's still going to be riding off that confidence, and I do believe that he's going to be able to win and cause the upset and remain IBO World Flyweight Champion. And then, like I say, it's very interesting to see where he'll go on from here. That's something I'm very intrigued in. This fight was a matchup that was kind of expected to happen when Malajika was able to win against Braithwaite and Chauke was able to win versus Kademi. Of course, he did the face-off and it was expected. But then after this, is Cafu going to be there waiting with his WBO super flyweight title and, then be willing to bring up Chauke? I'm not too sure. I mean, Cafu has been talked about fighting Chocolatito, and so that's a huge fight and is definitely a bigger fight than that of Chauke, to be honest. I mean, Chauke will be a big name in South Africa, but like I say, that global reach won't be anywhere near the kind of same level than that of Gonzalez. So it's going to be intriguing to see if Cafu does end up taking the Gonzalez fight, and if not, then maybe he'll be willing to give Chauke that fight, and I'm sure Cafu will want to bring his belt back to South Africa and fight for that, so maybe that could happen, and maybe that would be a good way to invite Chauke up to the super flyweight division. If not, and he wants to stick around the flyweight division, there's definitely some good matchups there. I mean, he could go on to fight a tough Mexican or a tough Japanese fighter who, has a solid record. But he could get an opportunity to fight on another big show, maybe going and fighting Yanquiel Rivera, maybe going to Puerto Rico to fight him. He's an upcoming fighter who is looking very good with the Matchroom stable at the moment, so that, like I say, is definitely a name that he could go on to fight Chauke, or Sharundlak, another name that he could go on to fight. I mean, he's coming off a loss versus Akui, but that was a very close fight, a split decision, and I think Sharon Thack definitely showed a good level of skill and showed that he wasn't just one of them Thai fighters who have a crazy pad record and as soon as he takes a step up he can't win at all. I think he did show a good level of ability, and so perhaps that could be a good matchup to be made as well. So like I say, this flyweight division is looking interesting at the moment, and Chauke may be making that of a kind of last ditch effort at pushing 40 to really go on and maybe challenge it for a world title. Of course, he has to get through this incredibly tough test at first, but maybe he will, and I believe so that he can get through this fight, like I say, via unanimous decision. But yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like the video if you did, need to like the video, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.